Welcome to Creatively Optimized, the podcast for service businesses ready to shine online. I'm Jenny Belanger, the founder of Jenny B Designs, a web design studio that builds strategic and beautiful websites that are designed to book you ideal clients and make you money. With over 10 years of growing my own design business, I'm here to share tips to creatively optimize your business. Get ready to learn web design strategies for high-converting websites, digital marketing tactics to reach ideal customers, and systems to simplify operations. If you're ready to blend creativity and strategy, you're in the right place. Join me on this journey to creatively optimize your unique business. Let's do this. Have you ever found yourself drowning in repetitive tasks, wishing there was a way to automate your business processes? What if I told you with just a few clicks, you could streamline your workflows and save countless hours? In today's pod, I want to take you behind the scenes of what I have set up in my business using Zapier. And I'll share with you the ways that I'm using it to save time and mental space, as well as kind of give you ideas of how you could implement it in your business to make your workflow a little bit more efficient and to boost your productivity. So let's jump in and chat a little bit about my BFF, Zapier. Before I get to the episode, just a little bit about me. I'm Jenny B. I own Jenny B Designs. We are a brand and web design studio, and I love helping other small businesses shine online, be it creating visual brands and bringing your brand to life online with your website to attract more ideal clients and make you money. And what I also love, besides designing beautiful websites, is getting the back-end system set up right. If you have done your website properly, it should be working for you behind the scenes 24/7 and doing all that heavy lifting and saving you that mental load. And I think today's episode will be an interesting way that I share with you things outside of just the back end of a website, but that pertain to your website and help automate my business and streamline my productivity. So let's get into the episode. Let's start at the top. What is Zapier and what are Zaps? Zapier is a web automation tool. It's typically used to connect apps and services, and it streamlines and automates your workflow without coding or anything difficult behind the scenes. And it automates things like social media, project management, note taking, emails, meetings, the list goes on and on. Basically, if you have two pieces of software that don't actually talk to each other, then this is a tool that you can use to make them talk to each other and work together in harmony. I use Zapier for things that are important to my business, but not essential. And let me dig into this. Zapier is a fantastic tool, and I love how it works. However, I will say that it is not 100% reliable. It breaks, and it breaks more often than not sometimes. And what that means for me as I'm thinking about using specific pieces of software is that I want to make sure my most important tasks are on software that does not break. For me, my most important tasks are receiving inquiries from my website. When I get an inquiry from my website, I want to make sure that it's going to go to my email. And so integrating Zapier into that process probably isn't the best use case for it. Things like scheduling an appointment. You want to make sure that if someone's scheduling an appointment with you, you get that notification. So making sure that you have that natively integrated into your app. What I mean is using something that you don't have to use a third party to connect to your email. I love to use Zapier for tasks that I need to do, but aren't critical to my business. But if I get them automated, they will save me time and energy and make my life easier. And if they break, it's okay. I can go back and do it myself, but I'm not missing something that is essential. For those essential things, I want to make sure that you're using software that integrates with the other tools that you're using. But if you have other tasks, and this is going to make a lot more sense when I get into it, then you can use the Zapier to kind of make it a little bit easier for you. Now, I use Zapier. There's also, I think, Make.co and a few others that you can use to automate your webflow. I found that Zapier is kind of what I've been using for the longest, and it's what I stick to. And I'm going to share with you some of the ways that I have created Zaps to help my business work a little bit better. Let's talk a little bit about the different plans that Zapier has. They do have a free plan, and this is great if you're just starting to dabble in what Zapier can do for you. I believe it's 1,000 tasks a month, and your Zaps can have a single step. What this means is that you can ask it to do one thing during the integration, and I'll share with you some ways that I use it to do one thing. For me, I actually have multi-step Zaps, and for that, you have to get onto their paid plan, which I believe is something like $30 a month. But what this allows me to do is it allows me to connect multiple pieces of software together and have multiple steps in my Zap. And I think I get up to like 750 Zaps a month. And for me, that's sufficient for my needs. And I think people starting out, if you're interested in Zapier, then get on there, try the free plan. And then if you are starting to think about more complicated Zaps, then you can upgrade. But definitely give it a try and see what works for you. Let's talk about a few different ways that I use it in my business. The first way is integrating with Notion. I use Notion because I love it and it's like my second brain. I organize everything from my business to my family to my personal life, my goals. Everything is organized right in on Notion. And what I want to be able to do is to get an email and assign it to a specific task, or get an email and send it to the recipes section of my Notion, or things like that. And I have created a few different Zaps that allow me to do just this. I have a Zap that when I get an email from a blog that I follow that has my favorite recipes, when something comes in and I really like it, I can send it to a specific email that I created with Zapier. And from there, it will send it to my recipes folder in my Notion workspace. Same with when I get tasks for a specific project. If I get an email with a task for a project, I can then forward it to a Zapier email and it will put it in the correct Notion place. I believe that if you're using Asana or ClickUp, this might be integrated natively into it. For Notion, it's a little bit different. And as well, I have a number of different areas that I do need to send information to. So Zapier has become my go-to for being able to organize my emails and send them to my to-do list in Notion. The second thing that I have in my Zapier is Stripe integration. I offer web care plans for my clients. And what this means is they pay a monthly subscription model and I maintain their websites for them, making sure that they're free of spam and malware and that everything is being updated and that they're working properly. As part of that care plan, they pay me through a subscription model through Stripe. If you're familiar with Stripe, Stripe doesn't really send you any notifications. I don't know why that it's not natively built in there, but I like to be notified when someone is paying for my subscriptions. What I have done is I've integrated an email that I receive every time a payment goes through my Stripe account. So when someone pays through my Stripe account, be it a subscription or a one-time fee, I will receive an email from Stripe that shares the payment and the name and the information about that payment. That is something that I had to set up through Zapier because it wasn't native to the Stripe platform. So if you utilize Stripe or maybe PayPal, although I feel PayPal might be one that does actually give you these notifications, but Stripe definitely was a challenge for me. I have it set up so that I get emails when people pay me through Stripe. The next one I have set up is I do run a website hot seat through Eventbrite. I want to make sure that those registrants are actually added to my email list so that I can stay in touch with them and share the knowledge that I share with my weekly emails with them because they have expressed an interest in learning and attending one of my events, and I want to be able to keep that conversation going. When they sign up for the Eventbrite event, their email will be automatically added to my ConvertKit account and they will be tagged as an attendee. And I have this set up through Zapier. Eventbrite does not automatically connect to ConvertKit. So I needed that third-party integration and I set that up. And now I know whenever someone attends a workshop in Eventbrite, they will automatically be added to my email marketing mailing list. The next thing I have set up is for emergency text messages. I value my clients so much. And I also value my ability to, as a business owner, be able to take some time off and recharge and regroup. And that involves not checking my emails. And yes, I do have a few people on my team who are helping me implement and carry out my clients' projects, but I don't have someone monitoring my inbox. I wanted there to be a way for me to completely shut off my inbox and know that I don't have to look at it, but if there is an emergency, that I would be notified. What I have set up is a Zap. And it's called my emergency text message Zap. And what happens is that when I go away, I put up a autoresponder that tells people when they can expect me next in the office and I will get back to them. And I do say, if it is an emergency, please respond back to this email with the word emergency in the subject. When someone does that, what it does is it kicks off the Zap, and the Zap notes that it has the word emergency in the subject, and it sends me a text message with the name of the person and their contact email and the message that they sent. That way, I can fully disconnect from my email, but know that if there is an emergency, it will go to my text messages and I will be notified. This is a really cool one if you like to be able to disconnect, but you don't want to fully not be reachable. This is a way that you can have people be able to get in contact with you with that emergency text message. The next one I have is when someone fills out my feedback form. When I finish a project, the second to final step is that I send people a link to a form that I have on Google Forms. And I ask them a bunch of questions about the project. And then from there, the Google form goes to my Google Sheets with the responses. What I have set up is that there's an integration that once that form is complete, I will receive a notification in Notion with the actual response that someone shared with me and a task that says that I need to update my website with this new testimonial, and it has that testimonial right in that area. And then it also shares a link to my Canva template that includes the way I set up my images for my testimonials on my website. And what it tells me to do is grab a headshot of the person who left that testimonial, insert it into that Canva template, create that image, and then update your website with that new testimonial and the new image. And it's all done in this Notion to-do item, which is kicked off every time there's a new form response in Google Forms. So you can implement this too. If you have a way of collecting Google Forms for your feedback after you finish a project or as you have an ongoing client, I like to stay out of my email and have everything in my Notion to-do list. That's why this works really well for me. I know that when there's something to do, I have an item in my Notion list. For you, if you're using Asana, if you're using ClickUp, you could integrate something like this as well, that you would get a to-do item that's update your website with that new testimonial every time someone fills out that form. Now, the next one is a little bit more of a longer Zap, and I want to share with you just behind the scenes of what's going on and see if maybe it will spark some things on your side of what you could implement to have something like this happen. So as part of my content repurposing model, what I do is when I am thinking about podcast episodes, I come up with an outline, and sometimes I'll work on that outline with my favorite AI, Claude, and I'll come up with the final outline that I want to use for the episode. Then I'll go in and I will record that episode using a piece of software called Descript. Descript is awesome if you do any video or audio editing. It's so easy to use, and it's basically, it creates a transcript, and then you can edit the video or the audio by just deleting or changing the words in the actual transcript. It's a really, really neat piece of software. But back to my process, I start recording the episode, and once it's finished, I have that final transcript. What I do is I put that transcript in a record in an Airtable base that I have, and I tag it as ready to repurpose. And once that happens in the Zap, I have it integrated with ChatGPT, and it sends a few different prompts asking for ChatGPT to help summarize my transcript into an Instagram caption, a LinkedIn caption, a newsletter outline, and a one-sentence description of the podcast. And then it also repurposes it into a blog post, and I have very specific criteria on what I want that blog post to be. Then it will update a record in the Airtable with all of that information. So my process is I record the podcast episode, I grab the transcript, drop it in that Airtable base, hit repurpose, and the next thing I know, all these fields are filled out on my starter captions and starter, newsletter for what I could write about this episode for all of these social areas. Basically, in 5 seconds, it has taken out so much time and work for me. And so then I go into let's talk about the Instagram caption. I'll go and see what the AI drafted for me. And of course, it's AI. It's not going to be great, but it's something. And then I start from there and I revise it and make it in my own voice and make sure that it is clear to my clientele and it kind of sounds like me. And then I schedule it on my social platforms. But having this kind of go on behind the scenes and not having to go over to chat and type all these different prompts saves me so much time. So you can integrate anything that you find yourself doing over and over again, even with AI, using their API function. You can have that integrated into the back end. The next one has to do with YouTube. Last year, I had a foray into YouTube for about 6 months. And what I have set up is that every time I published a new video, I'm going to open up the Zap so that I can tell you exactly what happened. Every time I published a new video in my YouTube channel, Zapier would send an email to my closest friends and family, sharing with them about the episode that I just released and asking them if they would watch it and support me. The next step is having it create a page post in my Jenny B Designs Facebook page, sharing that YouTube episode. And then the final step was creating a post in my Google Business page, sharing about that episode. This was all kicked off every time I created a new video in my YouTube channel. So thinking about things that you do and what happens every time you do something. Maybe you want Instagram to kick off things, or maybe you have a podcast like I do and you want a podcast to kick off things. Or maybe you've sent an email out to your email newsletter subscribers, but you want to share that email in other places. Well, perhaps think about setting up a Zap so that it can all just go happen behind the scenes. Another app that I have is my onboarding app, and this is quite the process. I'm going to tell you what happens here, and then think about how you could kind of use something in your own business. I use and love HoneyBook. So when someone books a new project in HoneyBook, I'm sending them the proposal, the contract, and the invoice all in one. They go through it, they sign, they pay the deposit, and they get the email straight from HoneyBook saying, congratulations, I'll get that welcome package out to you shortly. As soon as that payment is made, what happens on the back end is that my Zap creates a folder for my client with the client name in my client folder on my Google Drive. Then it creates a deliverables folder with the client's name and it makes it public so that anyone can access that folder. Then I have it create a Google Doc that is my client portal where I will have all the information about what that person needs to get to me before I can start my development. And then we create folders on that deliverables drive for the client for photos, for logo and branding, for your blog posts, testimonials, home, about, services, contact, any pages that you're going to need on your website. It creates a folder in that client folder that I share with them. Then it creates templates for my copy that I like to share with my clients who are not using a copywriter if they are deciding to write the website copy themselves. It creates templates in each of those folders. So I have a homepage copy template that will go right in that homepage folder, and so on and so forth. Once that is done, in Notion, I get a to-do item that shares with me the link to my clients folder that is just for my eyes only, where I have my contract, then the deliverables folder, the one that I'm going to share with my client, as well as the client portal Word doc that I'm going to share with my client, the date that they've signed on, and a list of things that I need to do to finish onboarding the client. This is all set up so it happens behind the scene. When someone signs on with me, all this goes on, and then I just get a to-do list with all of these links and things that I need to do myself. Before, I was doing a lot of this by myself, and it was a lot of, it's not hard, but it's just tedious, and it takes your time and energy and that mental capacity. And being able to automate this just makes everything flow a little bit easier, and it makes that onboarding process so much more fun. because I love to send my clients a little gift and a little email as soon as they sign on. And that what brings me joy, not setting up these folders behind the scenes, but they both need to get done. So having Zapier do that automation for me then just allows me to have a little bit more fun when I'm onboarding that potential or that new client when they sign with me. And then the final way that I'm currently using Zapier is when I complete a project. I have an Airtable base that has all the projects that I've completed with all the information involved in that project. And what I do is create a little project summary, summarizing who I worked with, what we did, what was the intended outcome, what did we discover during the project together, things like that. But I just write down my notes. And then I have a little button that says repurpose content. And what that does is it sends that little paragraph over to my BFF AI, and I have some prompts there. And what gets spit back at me is the first draft for a blog post about the project, an Instagram caption about the project, and a LinkedIn caption about the project. And like I said, these are just the first drafts because you can't take what AI gives you and just run with it. You definitely have to make it your own and put in your voice and your tone and link to, your appropriate collaborators if you work with certain people on the project and things like that. But again, it does save time on me having to sit there and think about how I want to craft this information. And truth be told, a few years ago, I actually was having my marketing assistant do a lot of this work. And I shared with her similar things. I shared, the description of what I did and shared with her an example of how I would like the finished post to look, and then she put it together. But now by using AI, I'm able to streamline that process and take a second person out of that step. And it really saves me both time and energy and back and forth. And I'm able to get more quality content out there by utilizing AI to save that time, by using Zapier to have this all happen behind the scenes. There are so many different ways that you can go ahead and use a product like this. I heard of someone having Zapier send their Instagram captions to a Google Sheet every time that they post on Instagram so that they could have a way to keep track of all their captions in case they want to use them again. You could do the same thing with Facebook or LinkedIn or anything that you share information on and you want to take an extra step out of the process. I always try to think about what do I do over and over again and what can I use a system like this to take that time out from my own effort. And there you go. Those are the different ways that I use Zapier in my business. I hope that it didn't overwhelm you. I just wanted to give you an idea of what I do so that maybe you can integrate something similar in your business and that you can understand how much time and effort that can be saved by implementing these apps. It really is definitely a game changer for me when it comes to automating repetitive tasks and streamlining workflows. And if you decide to go do this, send me an email. Let me know what apps are you doing? Or if you have some already in your business, what are you using behind the scenes? And I'd love to hear because I'm sure I could probably benefit from doing something similar. If you found this episode helpful, definitely be sure to subscribe to the podcast and share it with any small business owners that you think it might be helpful to. And I appreciate you so much, and I will see you next time. Thanks so much for listening to this podcast all the way to the end. I really appreciate you being here. Please make sure to subscribe to the podcast, rate, review, and share it with someone else you know it can help. If you like this episode, then I want to invite you to visit jennybedesigns.com, where you'll find videos and resources to help make your current website work even harder for you. And if you're feeling like your current website doesn't truly reflect you or your brand today, it's not attracting your ideal clients or making sales, or maybe you just feel embarrassed by it and it's holding your business back, then reach out. I'd love to help you design a website that truly reflects you, works for you 24/7, bringing in those ideal clients and making you money. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time for another new episode.